experimental ones. If you don't know me, my name is Jack. I've been doing HEMA since around 2008. I've been around and done about most things. One of my main focuses and interests is the historical background of the German system, and also, if you need to go get something, I don't mind.
Oh no, that's cool.
The historical background of the German system, especially the early Liechtenauer kind of area, and also mounted combat. That's something I've always been into. Because ponies are fun and they're addictive, like all abusive relationships. But one of the questions we have always with Liechtenauer system is, what was it meant for? And I think the answer is a lot of things. But one of the things that we can test is, does it fit what we know of the military context of the early 15th century, late 14th century? Because we don't have much on anything really in the German area for whatever reason, as far as like linking people to things. Maybe because it was to do with how they like to, how the records were kept, what libraries got hit by firebombs and or didn't during World War II. We don't know, so we kind of have to figure it out. We have some hints in the actual sources, but do we want to believe them or not is another question. So the approach here is we're just going to create some games and situations and scenarios that match what we know of 15th century military contexts, and then we're going to see whether the techniques fit those scenarios. You can, at the end, you can draw your own conclusions at the end. You can say that no, they don't, yes, they do. Up to you. Okay, we're going to start with a bit of a light warm-up. First, we're just going to get breathing. We're going to do a bit of a bear crawl, but because, partly out of fun and to get your brain working, we're going to start with a bear crawl. But we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go left, right, left, right. Okay? Bear crawl. I read in this direction.
Oh, circular. Okay.
I mean, if you want to just go random and bump into bumper car, you can. Okay? Okay, now just jog. We're going to jog in this direction, just a little bit of a jog. Try and get a bit of a bounce to it, so a little bit of air time. Now in Genesis, you're moving in diagonal, right? So your right hand and left foot comes up at the same time. That's a bilateral game. It's a 2-beat game. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Great. Now we're going to skip in this direction. Now I want you to forefoot. Is there a side that works better? Yeah. Okay, so let's go that direction. Change. 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 Okay, great. Congratulations.
Oh, thank
did
you.
it happen.
It's been highly entertaining.
This is just honestly, most people are lost. But there is something about this where, especially this last one, everybody notice when you're going around in a circle, there's one side that was easier? Yes. Okay. The way it works, so the way horses work is we did walk, and then trot works as a bilateral like this. Same way we do. Right? Canter works like this. I'm a bad point. Okay.
Nobody take that out of context.
You're basically, as a previous, that's why you get like waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same rhythm as the camera, right? You always have the lead leg, which is the one where it's easier to dive in on. And then changing your lead leg mid-canter can be tricky. So, we just learned something. But this is something that can be useful for when you're actually doing cavalry work. Can be important unless you have a horse that just naturally changes lead because of legs. You can also do, it gets you into all kinds of wacky things. Like I could turn this way on the wrong lead because I actually want to make this turn easier later on, for example. If anybody who's done cow work, they're very familiar with that. Counter around the cow work to make the turn easier. So now that we're a little bit warm, there's also, we'll get you some more sort of skin in your knees, loosen up your hips, move your arms, your shoulders. Horse stance. Right. Okay. So we're gonna get our gear. We're gonna do something. We're gonna start. The first stuff we're gonna start with is basically also how a lot of descriptions of conflicts kind of flow in the medieval German setting. At this time in the Holy Roman Empire, we're talking 1370 to 1450 mainly. You kind of have two categories of conflict. You have feuds between legal bodies, and you have class conflict between one body with legal rights and one that doesn't. So what do I mean by that? So, for example, at this point, German cities are going gangbusters. They figured out this whole import-export monetary economy thing. Knights are losing money because they got poor, because they spent it on stupid shit like war, and then they don't have money, and then they sell things to towns who have money because they do things like trade. And then the knights end up not having enough land to live off of and constantly going in debt, so they go, how about I just become a land pirate? And I can save, and I can steal shit from the free cities, or I can steal shit from each other. And sometimes this becomes official in what is legally called a feud. At which point, you see pictures of this in the books. Liz is short on cash, so she said, or maybe she lent Brendan some money. Brendan had to pay back the money, and she's short of cash now. So she says she hires some guys, and she says she gives the guys a nicely written feud letter done by a lawyer, and I'm supposed to deliver it. I'm supposed to deliver it on this stick with that's cleft at the end, so it's like it's pinching the letter, and I write up to Brandon with the long letter at the end of the long stick, and I go, he takes the letter, and I go. And you always see in the book, they're always like leaning out with their horse facing this, like looking this way so they can just book it. And process servers are still like that. And the letter will say, "Dear Brandon, on behalf, unless you pay me like more than the money I owe you, because why not? You owe me. I'm going to declare feud on you between Wednesday and Friday of every week in this area, and that's going to be our feud. And there might be some restrictions, and then until it's resolved, there's a feud. That means that Liz is then going to hire a bunch of people to go and look for people that Brandon likes and kidnap them. So Liz might have her own people. She has her own staff. But she also has contract workers, because having people on, like she has hire-ons, because having people in full-time contracts is expensive. So, gig economy, right? So she's probably going to hire a bunch of babes with swords who say they can ride. And she may check more or less before she hires them. But then we're going to get into a feud. Okay, and then she's going to send out her riders to go burn shit and look for stuff to take. First, she's probably just going to take all the valuable stuff before she starts burning stuff. Okay, so we're going to get into basically some basic mounted skirmish stuff. So put on mask and gorget, please, at the very least, and gloves. If you have more kit, I would appreciate more kit. So the basic idea. Brandon got his stuff on. We're going to start in alleyways. We're going to go this way. Brandon's going to the end. We're just going to start at the block, and for the moment, just keep on your lane, try and go straight, and we're just going to come in and just come in and just try and hit and keep going. The one rule is keep going. So we turn around, we do it again. Right? I can come from here. Right? And just start from there, play around with stuff, and then we'll amp stuff up. Okay?
Just walk at somebody and they'll be your partner.
Yeah. Attack them and then.
David, I'm coming to you.
I'm not buddy. Okay, here we go.
You cheated on me, bro!
I'm sorry. There's a pommel this way, Liz.
I'm gonna kill you again, David.
Okay. Bring it in. We're both good. Okay. So, first off, anything that you've noticed that is slightly different? Anything you have had to adapt to, or that is somewhat that you've noticed straight off? One hand is...
It's a little different, especially when you're coming in. You can really block or defend, or attacking it simultaneously is a little bit more difficult than attacking and defending. Like you basically...
You don't... Are you saying like you only have... you can either choose to attack or defend or do both? You can't...
It's more difficult to line up and defend a certain angle and get at them at the same time.
You find when you're one-handed versus two?
Well, just in general, in going straight in motion constantly and doing it, like, is a little bit different than whenever you're staying stuck in combat.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I can see that. Anything anybody else has noticed?
You can't really change the angle of the strike.
You can't. Once you're committed, you're committed.
It's very hard to.
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Kind of just thrusting.
Kind of just thrusting. Why just thrusting?
You can't really get leverage to kind of do the good slash. I can slash at you like that, but it's kind of a weak, doesn't have a lot of structure.
Yeah, if you want to be just using your wrists, it is kind of tricky. So we're gonna keep doing it. We're gonna go back to it a little bit and keep mixing up. But yeah, there is a certain amount. There is a couple of things that I will say. Once you're using one hand, you do need to start thinking about how you use your lats. Right? If I want to dominate a line mechanically, I need to start thinking a little bit more about my lats than my wrists.
Right.
Unless I get the line first. If I get the line first, then I can kind of do it. The other thing is I want you to be thinking about is, generally speaking, we're going to just do a quick side note around the one thing that we have to think about is we have a horse, right? And I'm gonna borrow a second sword. Just horses are kind of shittily built for combat.
Survival, combat,
Hey!
the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so, but they have all these sensory orifices that are really like easy to startle out in front, and I can do I could try and do lateral stuff to come in, but that's technically more difficult. And if she has a really bully horse, she can just go boom and T-bone me. I can do kind of like mid-range, like 50-50, but generally, if I'm just doing simple stuff, if I'm coming too slowly, this is coming in range before my threat is. So, boing. And generally, cavalry people don't like hitting each other's horses. It's usually not described enough as you should actually remember to do this thing that people probably didn't do it that often. It's not also, I've done like cavalry combat scenarios and stuff. When someone's bearing down on you with a weapon on horseback, generally you think about the weapon and the person first, unless you're really used to doing it. In which case you might, you're more like horsey, vulnerable, fuck you. So my speed, so there's two ways I can kind of make this work for me besides approach angle. I can come faster to narrow the time, and the other thing is I can also strike earlier. So now if she sees this strike coming in, she can either, if she goes for that, now she's safe. But if you were to go, this strike is already coming in, and she goes for my horse, right? So I need to present a threat early, right? Also, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Generally, most of you will find as you speed up, or even if you're doing this, you're hitting with the middle of the blade. You want to be, if you've waited pretty late, if you're hitting with the middle of the blade, you could have hit them quite a bit earlier. So try and be hitting them, either landing the point or cutting. Think about, we're trying to test whether Liechtenauer stuff works with this in this scenario. So go through your Liechtenauer corpus, try the different techniques from the corpus. Meyer maybe not so much, but definitely core Liechtenauer. Play with it. Sweet.
We're getting so far.
Okay.
It's a melee. That's what insurance is for. Horsey insurance. Oh Lord! Holy fuck! Two horses attack you.
Oh, I know, right?
So anything else you tried that did or didn't work? Or
Show how it worked.
Show how it did work. Yeah.
Hey, show how it worked very good.
Zorka went pretty okay. Well, not for me.
Shadow
worked well.
after you passed.
Potential.
Yeah,
yeah, were you bind and you kind of like come over the top, or
Well, just coming in.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like
Just throw it over.
throw it over. Yeah, there's, and it kind of makes a bit more sense if they're low in this case because you don't get the hand action quite as much. You're already kind of at an angle.
On the saddle.
Yeah. Any other ones?
I had a question.
Yes.
So when you're doing the movement, how far would you be able to like follow through? So like if we both blow through our defenses, would I be able to twist far enough back to follow through?
Yes. So there's a couple different ways of handling this. Generally, your horse will be going in a straight line. We're just assuming the most basic level of like, I got this, my last one that was good got killed, I got handed a new one today. It just panics and goes fast in a straight line, and that's what I got, okay? But, so a lot of medieval saddles are built to give you a lot more rotation.
Okay, that's
And there's ways of getting it. So you see in a lot of medieval manuscripts where their legs are kicked far forward, and they're kind of like, normally you would expect in modern equitation more your feet underneath you, and you see a lot of pictures where they're like legs kicked far forward. Okay. If you do that, what you can do is you can lock out your because anything you do with your legs or your hips is generally a cue to the horse.
oh.
And even if it's not a cue to the horse, it will influence the horse, which is why it should be a cue. But if you kind of push yourself up against the back of the saddle like that, you can get to a point where you kind of lock you out. You are putting your hips and your legs in a situation where you have the ability to deliver power all the way from your feet, which is what Pietro Monte says, fighting like you're standing on in a chair, without influencing the horse so much. So you can kind of lock out, and then you get a little bit more rotation. As far as how much you get in armor, Liz has done more armor stuff than me, so she'd probably be able to answer how much you can rotate behind you in armor. Probably depends also a lot on the
Armor's the bigger limiter than the saddle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Probably also depends.
Depends on your setup.
Yeah. If you're in Italian harness, you're probably a lot more like kill forward than German harness. German harness is like, I like to see things and move. Italian's like, I want to survive and kill. Yeah, you can kind of twist back, but that's why actually this is a good, because if as much as I can twist back without moving my hips is pretty safe to do. Okay. How many of you felt your horse is shy? where you went, oh, I'm going in front. No, I'm not. So one of the most fun, at one point we were doing a mounted combat event, and we decided to do like piggyback jousting. So like lances, and just we were piggybacking. Oh my god! And we just like started booking at each other, and the lances started coming down, and both of us, I was a horse and so was the other guy, and we saw the lances coming down at our faces, and they're just dropping. We rationally knew that the lances weren't going to drop down, but we weren't entirely sure. I mean, we were blitzed as well, so.
that gives more context. Okay.
And both horses went whoa, and just dived out sideways from the lances. I had to go in. I went and apologized to my horse. Because this is like if you're training a horse, it's like, no, stop diving out. And you're like, when you've done it, you've been in that situation, you've seen this big stick descend and start to point at your face.
you're a lot more understanding of why, like, running straight at the stick that's coming at your face may not seem like, on the face of it, such a great idea. So, yeah, as you play with it, you guys have already started to amp up the speed a bit. Especially if you're in low gear, be careful about amping up the speed, right? But also start being aware of how you're landing. I'd say strike earlier and earlier and see which other Stück you can get in. We've had Schielhau, works pretty well. Tverhau, works pretty well. Were you landing the Tverhau as a thrust or as a cut?
Yeah.
What does the text actually tell us to do? Try that. Second, we've had Scheitel. What ones haven't we tried?
Crump.
Schnappen? Crump?
Powder fun.
Crump, there is a place where I think you do see Crump in the text. In the Rostfechten text. It's Talhofer. It looks weird, but I think that I'll get to it at the end. But see about the other Hauptstück. Like there's a couple other Hauptstück that work pretty well, but aren't so obvious.
Einhorn?
It's not really. That's not one of the Hauptstück. That's as much. What other Hauptstück do we have?
Zorn.
Zorn. Is Sturz one of the main?
It's my.
I like it.
It is. It does work. It's just a little bit. It's just extra spicy on horseback because you're like wee. Another thing to keep in mind when you're on horseback. Also a caveat on what the armor situation looks like on horseback. A medieval lance is comprised of 4 members. You have the knight. You have generally a mounted crossbowman and 2 light lancers. These are knecht. These often will have a helmet, a little bit of armor, or none at all. And if they're just like riding the country looking for shit, they might not be wearing anything at all. This might be like you might be just meeting each other's. Brandon and Liz's groupies might be meeting each other and just throwing down because you don't hire smart people to fight each other. Smart people don't fight each other. Right? So, you might not be wearing anything. But so, anytime a blade lays against a piece of meat at speed, like a canter or a trot, you do not need much force laid against that piece of meat as you're riding past to do something to either your expensive horse or your expensive self.
That makes sense. Most of the old cavalry sabers I've seen aren't actually super sharp.
I mean, and a lot of them aren't kept sharp and only sharpened before combat because they didn't trust the troopers, which I don't either. But yeah. So if a sword just goes in a random place and lays on you, that might be a bigger deal than it is in normal Blossfechten. Okay, so keeping that in mind, you might want to keep an eye on where that sword is. But what other Hauptstück we have? I mean we have the guards, we have the hangings, Durchwechsel, Zücken, Abnehmen, Hände drücken, Verkehr. We have. Try the other ones as well. Okay. I'd say if you want to go a little bit faster, go more towards this side of the field. If you want to take it easy, stay on this side of the field.
Want to go faster?
Yeah, let's go fast.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Another. Go, horsey.
This is like even if you're going at a decent clip on foot, that's a slow trot on horseback.
The timing of the crop is
Did we try? What else? What else? What other ones did we try?
I tried swearing this time. It still worked.
I tried the zucking. I got stabbed.
One of the ones that I find is like people don't even think of, but works really well in a lot of modern combat contexts, is especially if you take defensive off the first one. So they come in. So first of all, Sorenhau is like your A. Like cut really early and try and ride it into them. Right? That's your A. It's really effective on horseback, really simple. Get your lats engaged, bring it down fairly straight. Boom. Now, the thing, and if they push you aside, if they're coming here, you can push them aside. As they're going to try and cut for the back of you. Right? You can land that way more often, especially on horseback, because it's just from here. If you can deviate your cut here and then just twist and press, and it messes with people up. And also it'll also really mess with their structure. Is the other thing, because if I have a good structure here and I get this and I'm pressing, there's an angle on horseback that really messes with you. Like straight back, often you can kind of deal with that, but when someone starts to push you this way, that can mess with your riding. So, it's a nice one. That's a nice one to have. But yeah, what is the main thing that riding past changes in how you normally fence?
You're always there's always a point where you are extremely close. So
you can come a little bit farther away. Like you can decide to cross farther away, but you will pass each other. And
there's not really a second intention.
Yeah, you have like 1.5.
1.5.
If you start early, you have you can do a wind and then something.
I would actually counter that and say your index is much shorter than you have.
Define index shorter than you normally have.
So, if you want to do a second intention action or take index after a bind, you're moving past each other much faster than you would be standing in front of each other when you're doing velocity. Right, so your time to actually respond to the index is much, much shorter.
Which is can be a blessing and a curse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But yeah. What else? What about how did people manage to hit with windings and stuff?
I got a duplier.
Duplier, yeah.
I had a couple of passes of, kind of. I was thinking of it as a reverse from smack right away.
Yeah, so that is one of the crump plays. But landing the cut into thrust, because you're naturally already committed, is a little bit easier, right? Mm-hmm. You don't get in that position of I'm here, I've cut, and he's that far away, which is just that much farther that the moment I start to lean, I lose my balance. You both are committed. He's not going to run backwards. That kind of changes. That creates some assumptions that you can work on, right? That he's going to keep moving forward. You're going to keep moving forward. That changes things a little bit. Makes especially those cuts into thrusts a lot easier. I promised we're going to change the parameters a little bit and play with it. I've said I think there's a crump. And there's a plate in Talhoffer. And one of the things in the settle that I'm always very interested in what the settle says, because it's so short, whatever it says must be the important bit, generally. And it says Krump auf Behend, and Krump often seems to be focused on using footwork and geometry to defend. So this is, if we're going to use geometry and riding to defend, this is going to be it. And there's one plate in Talhoffer where you see the guy cutting like this, and the other guy, he's turned his horse to the left, and he's hiding behind the horse's mane, and he's hitting the other guy in the hand like that. So if you
his momentum carrying.
So yeah, I could see you going ba bump ba bump bump. Shit!
I could see that'd be pretty good.
Because also he's much more committed, so that might work. Also, I think in that plate he's wearing a helmet, and I can see, and you see in a lot of the tile hopper pictures, they're very much like using the top of their helmet like a buckler.
That's what you got.
So, which makes total sense. You see them like landing in upsets and thrusts like this, and they're like, did it work?
That's awesome.
I heard this is how bald people fight for dominance.
Okay, which brings us to, we're gonna, okay, the feud has escalated. You guys have had some run-ins. You guys have, some of your young bloods have had, like, cut each other up a little bit. Now you've started to wear actual equipment. It's, maybe it's also gotten cooler and, so you've actually bought some. So now we're gonna say the seams of the jacket, off target, so body, off target, and the kind of like the mesh of the helmet. You're wearing like some kind of open face LA, right? So face is open, kind of like below the brow line. If you're wearing some kind of mask cover, the mask cover is a great indicator. If you're not, just kind of imagine an open face LA. So down here and below the ears, you might be able to land something. But coming straight down on top, nope. Okay, play with it.
No more shadow me.
Nice.
So are you having them pass right to right?
Generally, yes.
Okay.
I haven't told them not to. I'm also keeping an eye to see if anybody thinks to pass left to left.
Yeah, like I haven't said anything other than like one of my students, but like everybody's starting right hand dominant side up here rather than over the shoulder or anything from the left side.
Yeah, so that's also one reason I don't say anything is I'm interested to see what they do. Nice.
Like I'm a Fioris and Bolognese, so
yes,
like this is my shit.
Yeah. Fioris Rossfation is
that
works so well with the lance.
Posted Adonis and Estra.
Yeah, it works so well with the lance when you come from this side.
But also a lot of this definitely makes sense with the way that Fiore conceptualizes the Largo Distretta plays.
Yes.
So.
I think there's also there's a national difference in preference of sidearm on horseback.
Mm-hmm.
The Italians really love their wacky sticks, whereas Germans, like cavalry, you see often with the long swords.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder whether that's also partly why Bolognese loves it, because Bolognese shit works so well with a horseman's hammer. It's not even funny. You can, and then it's also how they get. Nice.
We got that one.
Yeah, we can actually hit the one.
It made timing so much more important.
That thing of getting it online quickly.
Because it worked really well, but I had to cut early to get into the face. And just kind of right into it at the right time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just be staring it down like, all right, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah. Modern combat do be like that sometimes.
It do be like that.
You were right, Zornhow. Perfect.
Especially when you're like, I just cut early, I get it out.
Do it early and keep it on the mask, and all of a sudden they're like, oh.
I was shying away like every time. Like, okay.
Doing the funny little head bow was fun too.
Yeah.
It felt so cheesy. We'd be going and be like,
I did the Lee.
I tried, so I'm a lefty naturally. I was doing mostly righty stuff here, and I tried being a lefty, and we both just ended up running into a bunch of other people because we were both trying to get on the outside line.
Yes, that is also a peak Ross Fechting experience of, we're doing our thing. Oh shit, we ran into something.
yeah.
But yeah, so offside, when you're doing lefty, you always end up often offside, right? Mm-hmm. Great time to grapple. Ooh. Because all of a sudden,
like doing grapples right to right changes, hard. But here, a little hanging parry and a wrap gets you a long way, or a cheeky rain grab if you're being a real dick.
Can you? Is that possible? Is that feasible at speed?
A rain grab?
No, like the grappling in general.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's at least one text where 2 people got ripped off their horses backwards doing that.
Yes. So there are grappling plays on horseback. What speed they were meant to be done at?
I guess we got to find out, right?
I like how you think.
Very easy either break your arm or their arm when you try to come on to grab it.
You got another one. It's okay.
That was a question. You're dominant.
Yeah, just go ahead and do it.
See, I want to see the play on horseback where one guy has a big hammer and just goes bang.
Okay, so yes, this is also a question. How much are we in, we're hemmed in, circling fights versus long strafing runs, right?
Another thing we ran into was also we started doing, it was batteries almost, whereas one person went and then another person was behind them. See, it's like that changes what you do a little bit.
That's advanced shit when you have your wingman, because that is if you want to take out infantry on horseback, or if you want to take out horses as infantry, it's a two-man team, because especially if they have lances, because if you manage to, and I did this quite a bit. The lance is a high commitment weapon, also to parry it as well as to attack. So if you have one person parrying it, and then the other person can dart out and manage to land a couple hits, or if I come in here, land my lance, I lean into it, you have to offset it. Next person, right? It's generally not. Because you're worried about this big scary thing, and then the next big scary thing comes, plants it in
over the top,
right? Or the crossbow. It could be the mounted crossbowman as well.
What if you don't have any
buddies? Shouldn't be a war then, right?
Then you should take a shower. Try again.
Serve a richer lord.
Yeah.
Does Zettel have anything about finding friends? Is there a thing in there?
Well, it does. How do you find friends?
Is there anything in the text about that?
Okay, move it.
You have found the sword friends.
Insert further funding, please.
That's a class for Sunday.
So yes, swirling, strafing versus melee. I think this is a lot to do with terrain and numbers, right? If you're very closed in, or you have a lot of people, you're gonna get packed in, and then you need a lot of very, very fancy stuff to move in a very small area with the horses, and you start wearing more armor, and maybe you'll go, okay, this thing that is really agile at finding gaps in armor and running past, and is maybe handy if I have to dismount and do all this stuff. Maybe I'm gonna take that instead of that. I'm gonna take as big a hammer as I can have. And then you have a counter. And I think that the German landscape at this point is fairly open. You have small numbers skirmishing over large areas, but you also have light armor and a preference for long swords for riders, with not as many horsemen's hammers in evidence. So I think that's maybe why the Germans are more focused on. And then in Italy, it's a bit more closed in, more mountainous, more built up, larger armies. I think that's maybe you have more separation where you have armored cavalry contingents that are solely armored, rather than having these mixed fire teams of light and heavy. So I think that's where you get into that. But yeah, there's a lot of that. In German stuff, when you see them really close, a lot of times they have daggers on horseback. There's some great plates where they're grabbing each other and they've got daggers, and the horses are biting massive chunks out of each other. It's like
Man, what were they feeding those horses?
Yeah.
Meth.
Oh yeah.
If you drive them crazy first.
I mean, like, they're stallions. They like to fuck shit up.
So the
They
horses
like
know
stallions like two things. Well, three things. Being randomly scared of things, fucking shit up, and fucking. That's
real.
There's eating. There's eating as well, but generally that's really subservient to the other three, which is a problem sometimes. But yes, horses can get way too into it sometimes. A lot of times the mares even more than the stallions. So anyway, next one. We can, if we want, do a little bit of group stuff before we move on. Okay. So, can we divide into teams of 4, or at least as close to 4 as possible? Each lance gets 1 night. So pick someone who has generally the person with the fanciest gear. They're only vulnerable in the face of the mask. So each team would have two nights.
Okay.
I don't have anything else. Yeah. Oh, I'm not second fanciest.
It's color coordinated.
Okay.
Knights vulnerable where?
Only the face. Okay. So hands up. Who's the knights on this team? Okay. Hands up. Who's the knights on this team? Okay. You have 20 seconds to make your plan. 1, 2, 3.
You're planning.
If you get hit, you have to raise your hand and go off to the side, okay?
Only the knights are in armor.
Only knights are in armor. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Keep moving, keep going straight. If you're still in it, keep going straight, keep moving. Go for another pass. Charge! Okay. Okay, we'll say break. Oh, I'm not sure who won that one, but that's war.
I started going in the face and I went boom.
I saw that. Don't do that. Whoever did that, don't do that. It's very realistic. That's the problem. Okay. Okay, so yes, we'll do it again. If you get tagged, go to the side. Who wasn't? Okay, this is a common problem. There's probably a reason why all the medieval war cries are really simple and basically it's where you're from. Or what team you're on, or who's hired you. Brandon! So if you're not sure who you should be fighting with, okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Keep moving! Form up! Go! Form up! If you're still alive, form up! If you're dead, go to the side! I'm alive. Close up the line, gang! For Brandon! Charge!
I still got people?
Let's go! Charge!
Last one for Brandon!
Okay!
This is my window.
Okay! Bring it in! Woo!
Do what?
My third party shoot. You're like bound to someone, they're like,
We don't really have time at the moment.
I died
but
for Brandon.
sometimes I do versions of this if we have like lances or soft spears. I give the knights lances.
And then the mounted crossbowmen get gloves to chuck at each other. And sometimes the mounted crossbowman has a heavy crossbow that can go through the armor. Sometimes it's a light crossbow that can't. Right?
How you gonna winch on horseback?
Exactly like that. Go fucking faster! Get away! Get away! They're coming! That's generally how you do it.
On the pommel, press down.
It's better than the alternative, which is like the stirrup ones where you have to hook it over your foot, lean down, and pull it up.
I honestly don't know why we moved on from blow
No, the winch is easier because you don't have to lean out of your saddle. You can just you got your reins in this hand, you put the winch here, you're fiddling it with your right. There's a part of the text that tells you how to do it.
Why would the hook be on the front of the saddle and then you hook it and just lean back? Use your back muscles.
Because the horse will go.
Well, yeah. You don't really have the pull. You don't have the space.
The range.
You might be able to. Maybe you might be able to have something here and then push it down. But the only thing I've seen is this one for the stirrup ones. And it says if you want to winch it, it's spannen, which could be normal spannen, but probably means winch. There's a part in the Suda von Danzig where it says you stick your sword under your thumb, right? Or you stab it through your Waffenrock, through your tabard, right? That goes over the armor. You winch it, you shoot, and then if you have to fight again, you hold the crossbow in the palm of your hand with your reins like this, so it's over your shoulder, and it creates a armor on the left side.
Oh.
You fence, and then if you need to again go back, you dump it, come up, boom.
The shotgun reload. on the outside. If you're free, you put the shotgun up on your shoulder and you're shoving shells in. They're just doing it on this side. It's going to hold it really well.
Yeah, you could I mean, it doesn't say. I think it's once you've shot, so it's not spanned. You could theoretically do it with it spanned, it could work. But yeah, so the mounted crossbowmen are being a mounted crossbowman is one of the funnest bits because you can just come up from behind and gank people. And when you do this game a little bit, you start to find there are D&D classes and strats. You have the armor guy who's tank, who just draws attention. Then the light guys, once the knight's drawn the aggro, come from behind, circle, and hit the other guys from behind. And then you have the crossbowman who's just causing fucking chaos.
Is there any context for multiple people riding on the same horse? Because I'm thinking, obviously you have a guy sitting behind you handing crossbows. Is there any context for multiple people riding on the same horse?
This is a bag of crossbows already loaded. Here you go.
Oh, that's so huge.
I love how you're thinking classically.
I know.
Well, because this is something that you see a lot more in classical times, where you have
chariots,
the medieval the ancient German tribes, where they've got a rider, and then they've got a guy holding on to the running behind, holding on to the tail.
What?
Ask Caesar.
Caesar.
Apparently, because you can bring your infantry support with you is the thing.
That's a good...
Do they have to?
It's honestly...
Because otherwise, how are you going to fucking keep up with the horse?
It's like a car and a skateboard.
Yes!
Oh, classical stitching. Got it.
You're just ah!
What do you do if it starts running?
That's it. It's supposed to run. It goes as fast as it can, and you're just...
So you throw your shield down, right, and then you're riding it into battle.
So the answer is no. In the context that we're talking about now?
No, not that I've been able... You do have times when you have, maybe people hanging back loaded with, supplies or reloads.
You ride back, and then ride closer, shoot, ride back.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So, a lot of things like horses are F1, like being expensive. So, yes. So yeah, you get to and this is all kind of fun shit you get to play with, and then you can do things like crumping the crossbow and trying to get the thing, hook it off, or thrust the bugle, the stirrup of the crossbow and try and hook it off their shoulder for cracked.
It's just something you play with sometimes. Sometimes we play with the actual crossbow, so you can actually just like try and hook the crossbow, then you got the crossbow.
Poor crossbow.
But anyway, so you've done your cavalry skirmishing, and I'm going to read you actually an account of a cavalry skirmish that we have from the 1450s.
Ooh, story time. I don't want to sit down. I won't get back up.
You can sit down. I'll help you out.
It was a joke. I'll get down.
In the service of Wilbold, the master of his arms, the Count Bear of Helfenstein, Lord Hans von Munkwitz and Franz von Haubitz, they had been in the field for 2 whole summers and winters, their harness ruined, their clothes on their body intact, rotted away. He was given to replace these, to clothe their servants and vassals and equip the horses, 4 weeks of leave. This is just like a prelude to it. Basically, this is the Burgundian Imperial War. They've had a really shit winter, and they've been wearing their armor up control, and it's been completely rotted away. So they not get some time to come back to do it. So this is also just an interesting one. Like, wearing your armor all the time has consequences. After this, the counts of Mechel wished to be lent a troop so that they could safely harvest the grain. He ordered Lord Wilbold with 200 horses to help them. They whiled the entire day holding these fields. He gave command of the and then he gave command of the troop to Lord Markson von Hein, and he gathered 60 well equipped to his side and trotted to Loppen, looking to see whether there's any fun to be had. So basically, this is a biography. The guy whose biography was, he got told, guard these peasants so they can bring the grain in. He got bored. Naturally. He grabbed 60 guys and said, let's go.
So would the guys have been like rich, like men at arms, or like citizens, or like military?
The people he's guarding, or who's
the people that he like got, the well-armed people.
Yes. Good question. So again, thinking about this, these were probably something in the line of these lance structures, where you have 1 heavily armored guy and 3 light armored guys. These light armored guys are referred to as Knechten, and Knechten are also referred to as the people who are to be taught the art.
Oh, so
Knights and Knechts.
So they're like your squires or your posse.
These are guys who are technically outside the second estate. They're not really nobles or knights. They're people who can ride and fight who you hire.
Oh, they're mercenaries.
Right? They might be like one of your farmer's second sons. Farmer doesn't like. And he's like, yeah, get him killed. Right? It could be your master of hounds. It could be your master of hunts. It could be someone you hired. It could be someone who was given to you as a gift by your duke because your duke knows you are completely horrible at this. And you need someone to keep you alive. This is something that exists in the horse world to this day.
Groupies.
Because in polo, so there's certain sports like polo where a lot of times you'll have a patron, an owner who owns everything, and then he'll hire professional polo players for his team. The patron is of course generally not as good as the professional polo players because he's making money to have the team. But the polo players spend all their time are professionals, and he hires the best ones he can find. So anyway, the sentence in German, looking to what see what there's in front of you, irgendwas schicken möchte. It's the same sentence you use for a night on the town today in Swiss German. Here there were many wagons from the same city, Loffen, the enemy's city, that were also bringing in grain, making his companions greedy for riches. Not considering the enemy, with no regard to their own protection, they fell upon the farmers, unspanning the cart horses and threatening the farmers, so that the Lord Vilvel had no more than 16 horses left with him. So he takes his 60 guys, he goes over to the neighboring city, he's also bringing over their grain. They see all these peasants bringing in the grain, and then they go murder a hobo. They desert him.
Was this generally frowned upon to interrupt the grain process because it interferes with the commerce?
Depends on who you ask. If you ask,
I thought it was generally like there were seasons of war. Like spring was planting, summer was war.
Yeah. So this would have been there's also with different grain harvests. Your winter and your summer grain. So here there at that time 50 and so yeah, he's only got 16 guys left with him. At this time, 50 cuirassiers, guys in full armor that had been held by their own behind a church for this reason, appeared. So the French, all of a sudden, a troop of 50 guys in full armor just come from behind a church. This was totally not a trap.
Feels kind of like a little bit of a trap.
Now Vilvold's companions were squabbling over the gains. Lord Vilvold thought, should he flee, either him or his companions would be defeated and make all his days shameful. He considered it much better to meet chivalrously, toe to toe, unter Augen, which is a sentence that comes up all the time in the sources, as it later happened, as they later did, so that nothing maybe mocking would be said of him. So he stood awaiting the enemy. His companions, who were strewn and had been plundering, did so well as they were able to form up beside him and ride all together at the enemy. So they just go, oh shit! Jump on their horses and manage to form up. The French captain, after their manner, let their horses go full tilt as fast as their horses would run. Against him came Lord Vilvold. As he came close, his horse neatly trained. So it implies that the French are going complete, and he's keeping a very collected pace. The Germans. But the Frenchie, and it literally is Frenchie because it's like the slur that they still use. Since his lance greatly overreached Vilvold's, hit him so hard that the lance went to splinters, and the Lord Vilvold horse bent as if his back were to fall out from under him. The others met with the Frenchman's fellows, and a mentionable vassal was even unhorsed. This is interesting because it says a mentionable vassal, so apparently there's unmentionable vassals?
Yeah, you don't talk about the unmentionable ones.
You know, Henry V fight, like, who did we lose? And he names them, and says, and 27 others.
Yeah. But I think this is interesting because we do have in the feuds, there's this thing of, in the feuding process, you don't want to, and in generally, you don't want to kill people who are connected enough to have lawyers or friends with lawyers.
With this mentionable vassal. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have a question because I noticed when we were doing the thing, how often did these feuds actually really accomplish anything, or did a bunch of people go kill each other and say, "Whoa, we're tapping out"?
I mean, both.
What was the success rate?
That's actually a really that there's actually a PhD thesis in that. I'll be honest.
I would like to read that.
There's actually a really good book, Feuds in Medieval Germany by, I forget the name of the author. I don't think she actually goes at it from a direction of like how successful were these. I mean, and there's also a lot of different questions like military aims versus economic aims. Stated aims versus implicit aims.
You're right, it is more complex. I just noticed we had like 4 people left. Every time it said, "No, we're done."
Yeah,
which I feel like would happen in real life. When all of your men are dead, you're like, "Well, I'm not riding back out there." Especially if you're for hire.
Was even unhorsed. I hit him so. Now they beat upon each other from both sides around the vassal, who lay unconscious, and either side was not much more than 2 horses more than the other, so they are fairly evenly matched. It is a common proverb that a good conductor achieves more than 2 laborers working. In matters of war, it does not depend upon a captain's strains and fencing. He should have an overview how on all sides the battle, assault, or action is going with the enemy, and to where breaking, enforce whatever order if he sees deficiency or crimes, to instruct how they should fight, and instruct how they should fight out of the formation and how they should be using their arms. He should not fence, but only do so in protection of his person. That's why Vilvold judged his companions' fencing, saw that they could gain nothing from the cuirassiers with thrusts or strikes, where the failings were greatest came the captain, encouraged his own, told them that they should think to the horses, for where the horses were, they could not defend well in their heavy harnesses.
Take out their horses! Sweep the leg! So there were many stallions of the French stabbed, dead or wounded, that they had to retreat along a draw not far from there, where they had about 80 footmen. And as these heard the alarm being rung, Lord Vilvoet and his were awaiting the ambush and collecting themselves neatly. For had they pursued the router, they would have been among the infantry in the narrow paths where they could do nothing and only escape with difficulty. Oh no! We're running away into the woods where we have infantry support. Please don't follow us. That's why the captain went back to the field. He had many lances and swords and other weapons which they had dropped, gathered up. Like a good D&D party, they loot.
Hey, that stuff's worth money, man.
Yes. The French followed them with their infantry. Lord Vilvoet escaped. He was of the opinion that they should give an account of themselves with the infantry, which was not his companion's opinion. As the Lord Vilvoet noticed this, he took his prisoner, the Lord of Fedesheim, with him. He drew away with his gains. He sent for the other troop which he had left behind to come within sight. So if a rested troop from Loffen, as he was where he were to find them, that he should not be overrun, for his men were tired and wounded. He had his horse mortally wounded, who died on the third day after that. As any cavalryman would know, that both sides had to work and fight hard, for in small affairs as this was, no one shares the blows, which does not happen in field battles. There only the forward ranks fight, so the 6th or 10th may no longer come to blows, for in such formations, when they are parted or forced to give, normally the rear mind the gaps and step into place. So it doesn't happen that one fights so heavily man to man as was before heard in this story, that every man is for himself, and it was such a hard battling as was never told before. So there I tried to keep a little of most of the German syntax, which is really weird because they didn't have people to beat them over the head and tell them to edit. But what's interesting, there's a couple interesting things there. First off, this exhortation that commanders shouldn't fence, but should be good at fencing, so that they can coach their guys.
And defend their life.
And defend their life, right? It does seem that the two captains just go straight for each other. The other thing is also, this is something that you see a lot where they actually consider the small skirmishes much more noble than the large battles. Because the small skirmishes you can actually fence.
Yeah.
Right? The big battles they don't consider as much, but like the small stuff, this is where you get the, one of my favorite bits is there's Yuval Harari has a book on like an overview of military memoirs in the 16th century, and he gets absolutely incensed about the Chevalier Bayard's memoir, because after the Battle of Pavia, there were a bunch of really geopolitically massive negotiations going on, and Bayard doesn't mention anything about them, barely even mentions the battle. Meanwhile, he does spend like 2 or 3 pages talking about how sad he was about the horse he lost during the battle. Meanwhile, like a skirmish that happened like 3 weeks before gets like a full chapter in his memoir. And the historian is flipping out because it's like these geopolitical things are way more important. And Bayard's like, nah, I had this really cool fight, bro. There's this really, like, it was great. We had this back and forth, and it was like, it was great. Which goes to show, fencers haven't changed. Okay.
Damn true.
So right now we had our cavalry. We're gonna run through a couple of the infantry scenarios. We don't have much time to do it, but we're gonna go with basically we're gonna start with fencing on foot. You've ridden to a position. You're wearing your light cavalry gear, which is what these guys were wearing too, which is why they were at a disadvantage, which is breastplate and salet. That's what you see 90% of the time from German cavalry. It's either that or a full kit, but most of the time you see, especially the knechts, in light kit. So fence as if same as you were doing on ground, but now it's like you're fencing on the ground. You're holding a position. You've ridden to a bridge and something, and now someone's trying to take the bridge or farm away from you. But fence, sword in 2 hands, breastplate, and Sally.
In one-on-one or in groups again?
One-on-one.
One-on-one, okay.
How much time, so we'll skip to the group scenario.
Sick!
It's pretty simple group scenario that we're going to do first. Each of you, we line up 2 rows. If you take out your opponent with a clean hit, you're still alive, you can go help your friends.
Ooh, I kind of got a tummy ache before this fight.
Did you get some sleep?
Oh no. You need to be over on the other side.
What?
And they did that.
Double or after blow, you're both out.
Yeah.
Upping the amount of armor that you have. They did it from they kind of a helmet and a breastplate, so only the face is really.
Oh God!
They did it for combat, and now they're doing it as imagine that you're wearing a breastplate and saddle.
Did we double each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, fence again. Do it again. Go.
Alright.
Don't die.
Brandon won't die. Don't make me bring you home dead.
Careful back ahead.
Are we still horses?
Okay.
I like the.
Remember, top of head doesn't count. Breast doesn't count. You got a fillet and a breastplate. Okay. Fence. Any kind of more point work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more of that.
Yes. What did it change now that you're in that group context of either dying or being able to help your friends?
Jump on the person who's running around and kill him real quick.
It goes fast.
You know your team is. Okay. So how does it change the dynamic on doubles and afterblows?
Don't get double blown after That depends on context. How many people do they have left versus you?
I mean, we doubled on I think the first round just for out, so. But it's 1-1, so you're dropping, so there isn't an advantage to one side or the other in that.
What happens if your opponent hits you clean? You die. Oh, you're dead. What happens to your team?
They die.
You're in trouble. Yeah, they get rolled up. Yeah. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Like for you, it may not make much of a difference whether whether you get hit clean or doubled, or it's a double. For your team, it might make a big difference.
I'm trying to live for that paycheck, brother. I don't want to get hit.
See that's the other thing, definitely, right? Okay, one thing we're gonna try one more. I don't care so much about the group, but let's do some fencing where we just have the face open. We're again in full harness, but with the visor open, which is something you see a bit, right? So find a partner, but imagine it's only open face. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, face down, sword
Is
drawn.
this a group or a partner thing?
Partner. This is 1-on-1. I don't care about the group anymore.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Maroon.
I don't want to fight Greg.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But that happens all the fucking
Yeah, but like everybody likes to deny it'll never happen.
I think I got some ideas.
Okay. So, how did that change things?
I focus on
Scared.
Man, I wanted to take annual leave for this fight.
Yeah, the asymmetry is really interesting.
You're really selling harness-spectin with this one, you know?
Yeah, no,
We have classes on that tomorrow.
I was gonna say unarmored
You
armored
only have your
fencing.
face open, just hassle. Get him in the arm.
Yes, so that's an interesting question, right? When you guys were both in like the light armor, did you feel like it was kind of the half sword?
No. Not when your arms and hands are in danger.
When you're asymmetrical half sword versus full plate.
Full plate, half sworded, other person didn't.
Right? So this is where I think one of the questions is like, oh, but we don't have like much stuff on, you know, you're always wearing some armor. Like there's a lot of variable amounts of armor going on in the German context, especially.
Yeah.
The French seem to always be French and Italians always full armor all the time, and then they hire other people to go find the enemies. But the Germans seem to do a lot more, a lot more scouting and stuff. So a lot more traveling. You see also there's books that have like outfit books that have like what the dukes traveled to places in. Like I think it's based on one conference, and it's like what all the dukes showed up in, and it's usually some kind of half plate, some low gear kind of like salad.
Got the metal bars down the arm,
you know,
and the little circles on the pauldrons instead of actual pauldrons.
Yeah, exactly.
Was mail not as common at that point? Just
Yeah,
like a
If you could afford it.
So that's the question. It looks like they're wearing doublet, but is there mail sewn into the doublet? Right?
Deception. How dare, not
So
chivalrous.
there's lots of that stuff going on as well. So so yeah, we have this idea of
One of the things I noticed when I was the one in the half plate and the salad is I felt like I was always incentivized to just try to go for like a cheeky one-handed supervisor because my area that I can threaten is so much lower that ultimately my risk is the same, but my reward is a little higher here, as if opposed to I just like try to actually go in. I was feeling like.
Yeah, I mean that's a completely valid take. You don't see it in sources, maybe because it's just like it's so basic. You're just like, hey, by the way, check this out. Whee!
It's also, if you don't have good structure and someone just knocks your sword out of your hand in the middle of a battle,
it's
that's
also
terrible.
different when it's like, someone in an actual plate who can just go crump, boom, and football tackles you in 20 kg of steel.
If you got a guy in full plate armor, get 7 bros, get him to the ground, and get your rondelle out. That's all you want to do.
So yes, understanding how, at what point Bloßfechten becomes harness is a really interesting question. Because that, like, the context of, what is Bloßfechten for if you have harness? And harness, you always wear harness in war. Context-wise, that's not quite true. And, like, once you have some level of armor, doesn't immediately mean you go to harness harness in my experience. I'm going to read another fun account. This one's more of an infantry one, and goes to sometimes I do the corridor fight, which is fun and just chaos. So the Prinzenraub to Oldenburg. One of the most spectacular kidnappings in German history took its beginning in the 15th century in the Castle of Oldenburg in the night of 7th to 8th of July 1455. The knight Kunz von Kaufingen kidnapped the sons of the Saxon elector Frederick the Meek. Ernst and Albrecht, the sons Ernst and Albrecht were kidnapped from their chambers in the Oldenburg castle. Kunz von Kaufingen wanted to enforce recompense for his lost land. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So basically, Kunz was, a knight and a vassal. The Duke of Saxony went to war, and he got Kunz and all of his guys captured. And while he was captured, Kunz's lands got completely ravaged. Kunz lost a whole bunch of guys, and his guys lost horses, and he had to be ransomed. He paid, like he was legally obliged to, paid for the horses and the ransoms of his own guys. Now, the Duke of Saxony is supposed to recompense him for those Right? The Duke of Saxony went, sorry, wrong number, and just refused to answer, right? Then Kunz takes the Duke of Saxony to court. Funnily enough, the Duke of Saxony's daughter has just married this other duke who's trying the case.
That's a conflict of interest, as we were saying.
Yeah, Kunz tried to point this out. This did not work out well for him. Frederick, the dispute went back to the Saxon fratricidal war. Frederick asked Kunz to take part at the war. Kunz became captain and had to pay ransom, 4,000 gulden for his release. After the end of the war, Kunz demanded a recommend from the elector. These included reparation for the ransom and the demolition of his property in Thuringen, his manors in Schweigelsheim. The ruling went against Kunz due to political pressure from Frederick on the courts. Kunz decided to take matters in his own hands. He availed himself of what so-called feud rights. So this is feud law, right? What we talked about. Together with the knights, Wilhelm von Mosen and Wilhelm von Schönfels, he formed up a troop of 30 horsemen. In the night of 8th of July, the group marched to the Electoral Castle in Altenburg. The previous day, the letters of feud were composed and sent to the court. Von Kaufmann had good knowledge of the place because he had been to Castellan.
Back there.
Yeah.
Go there.
But further found the fact that the elector was at a wedding ceremony with all his royal suite aided the plan. The plan was to carry the princess to Bohemia because Kunz wanted to use the political situation between Saxon and Bohemia to fortify his bargaining position. Wilhelm von Mosen and Wilhelm von Schönfels wanted to arrive in Bohemia with the prince on the way through the Vogtland, but Kaufmann tried to arrive via his manors in Stolberg with Prince Albrecht. So they basically decided to kidnap the princes, decided we're going to split up Scooby-Doo. However, as the alarm was raised, Kunz was ambushed and surrounded in the forest by the charcoal burners with crossbows. The men who overcame Hartenstein and Herzberg after the message of the detention from Kunz, Mosen, and Schönfels surrendered the other prince to Friedrich von Schönberg with the demand of freely leaving. The danger was so great, it was too great. Shortly, Kaufmann was executed on the market place in Freiburg. So, okay, this is something that you actually do see a fair amount in sources, using knights and knightly cavalry as basically spec ops, right? Because besieging castles is really expensive. But if you can get a whole bunch of people, get some riders to the tree line within, like, say if that's the castle gate, if I can get riders behind that tree, and when they open the gates in the morning, if I have my knights, I have my mounted crossbowmen out in the beginning, they can take out the two guys at the gate, and we can get at least 10 guys inside while everybody's still kind of waking up. We can probably take the castle, right? Mm-hmm. So that room to room clearing with long swords.
Why did Kunz not just kidnap the princess as soon as he heard about the marriage?
Yeah, I honestly, you'd have to ask him.
He's not available for comment.
I think Dole was most when the charcoal burners found him, but I think he had to get it organized. But you have a lot of accounts of people using cavalry to come over walls at night, galloping in through gates.
Hit the ladders.
So that's one of the things about having cavalry is you can get them places quickly, right? And then they can fight on foot if they need to defensively or to clear stuff out. But you might be going room to room, clearing out a castle, and you're not going to be doing it with a poleaxe because you rode there. Right? So that's something to think about. I preface this with the idea of that there's feuding, and then there's class conflict between someone who has legal rights and who doesn't. Liechtenauer seems to show up in this like 1380 to like 1420 time frame. In this around Munich, in this southern corner of Germany. That's an interesting geography because you have two class wars going on. You have the Swiss, and and you have the Hussites. And in feud law, you don't want to be killing people willy-nilly because it creates paperwork. You want to have your nice feud and make money and kidnap people and charge ransoms without attracting the Duke. Anybody, you don't want the boss to notice your little office war because he doesn't want to lose a whole bunch of guys, and he doesn't want things interrupting his paychecks. And if there's a legal case because you murdered my blacksmith and now I have to find a new blacksmith or whatever, he has to get involved, and he's a busy guy, or if he's not a busy guy, he doesn't want to be a busy guy, right? And so you don't want to be killing people if they're mentionable vassals. It's completely different in the class warfare. They aren't doing this for money. They're doing it because they want you dead. They have a grudge and they want to make money. So the Swiss don't charge ransom, they kill people. The Hussites don't charge ransoms, they kill people. And so then if that makes a lot, when you start getting, you have the idea of like, you can do all of these things. Sometimes I'll do these games as you're not supposed to kill people, you're supposed to land slices instead of thrusts. But if you're talking about ramming points through people's chests, it does make sense in a context where increasingly you're dealing with these crazy like commies and like religious nutters who want to kill you, and you have to kill them. So, that's and Turks. Going further, you have the Ottomans. So this is something that's starting to come up in the same time period as the Germans. So is that something that we're seeing maybe a response and a more a different dynamic in how people explain fighting and think about fighting now that we're getting into different kinds of fighting? Who knows? I mean, the Hussites came all the way, sorry, not Munich, Nuremberg. It's in the area of Nuremberg where we have a lot of the sources. The Hussites come all the way to Nuremberg. And in the Appenzell Wars and the Swiss Wars in 1380s and the early 1410s area start to draw on a lot of cavalry from the southern Germany. Could be. So this was just a bit of fun, and also to get you thinking about maybe what the context was, and also how much fun it is when we just step outside of what we think of as what we do all the time, and we just mess around and go, what if? What if they're wearing that armor? What if this situation is this? What if they don't? What if? Because then we start to get into the idea of what is a real fight. There isn't no such thing really when we think about it, context-wise, as the real fight. There are real fights that might be some level of danger or like willingness to kill. There might be different levels of armor. There might be different group situations. So anyway, I have both those stories as a handout. If you want me to send them to you, I've stopped printing them out. I thought about printing them out. I didn't have time, and also generally I print them out and then nobody takes them. If you actually want it, let me know. I will send you the Google Doc.
All right.
Thank you. Cool.